Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in your life when you realize that it's not the big moments that shape your destiny. It's the quiet ones. Not the big speeches, but the small decisions, not the dramatic changes, but the daily choices no one sees, not the applause, but the habits you keep when the world isn't watching. You don't need a perfect plan, a lucky break, or someone to save you. What you need are a few powerful habits that will quietly transform your life from the inside out. Tonight, we're talking about 5 powerful habits practiced consistently, lived sincerely, that can reshape your mind, your heart, and your future. And we'll wrap them in one final principle that ties them all together. We live in a world that trains you to react before you even have a chance to think. The moment most people open their eyes, they grab their phones, messages, notifications, news, social media, all of it rushes in before their first full breath of the day. Without realizing it, they hand over their emotional state to whatever appears on that screen. A disturbing headline, a comment, a comparison, a problem from yesterday. And just like that, their day doesn't begin with intention, it begins with pressure. The same thing happens at night. Instead of gently closing the day, they scroll until their mind is overstimulated, then fall asleep exhausted, half numb and half restless. Morning and night, the 2 most powerful gateways of the day, are surrendered to noise. Stillness is the opposite of that. The habit of stillness is the quiet decision to reclaim those gateways. It doesn't mean you have to meditate for hours or become some kind of monk. It simply means you give yourself a few undisturbed moments where the world doesn't get to speak first or last. You do. In the morning, before you give your mind to everything and everyone else, you give it to clarity. You sit in silence, even if it's just for 2 or 5 minutes. You take a few slow, deep breaths and let your body catch up with your spirit. You might pray, reflect, or simply sit with your thoughts. You ask yourself not, what do I have to do today, but what kind of person do I want to be today? That question shifts your day from task-driven to character-driven. It's no longer just about getting through your to-do list, it's about how you will move through it, with patience or irritation, with kindness or indifference, with focus or distraction. You ask, what truly matters in the next 24 hours? The word truly is important because it cuts through the noise. Not everything that screams for your attention deserves your attention. Some things are loud but not important. Some things are quiet but deeply important. Your health, your relationships, your values, your mental state. In stillness, you start to see the difference. You might realize that one sincere conversation is more important than 20 rushed responses. You might realize that protecting 10 minutes for yourself will help you show up better for others. This is how stillness in the morning becomes direction for the rest of the day. At night, the habit of stillness works like a gentle closing of a book rather than slamming it shut. Instead of collapsing into sleep with a mind full of unresolved noise, you pause, you look back at your day, not to judge yourself harshly, but to learn. What did you experience? What did you learn? Where did you grow, even in small ways? Where did you fall short? And what can you do a little differently tomorrow? This reflection turns your days into teachers instead of blurs. You begin to see patterns, triggers that drain you, choices that strengthen you, people who bring peace, and habits that steal it. This habit is quiet. No one will see you sitting alone, breathing, thinking, praying. No one will clap for you when you choose to sit in stillness instead of scrolling. It won't look impressive on the outside, but slowly, almost invisibly, it starts to anchor you. You begin to feel less like a person being pulled around by life and more like someone walking with intention through it. Your reactions become slower and more thoughtful. Your decisions become sharper because you aren't just reacting in the moment. You've already prepared your heart earlier in the day. With time, you notice that you're not living on autopilot anymore. You're no longer just waking up, rushing, collapsing, and repeating. You're paying attention, you're choosing how to start and how to end. Those small pockets of silence begin to shape everything in between. They don't remove the chaos from the world, but they build calm within you. And when you carry that calm into your day and into your sleep, your life doesn't just feel different on the surface. It begins to transform from the inside out. Your mind is the place where your entire life begins. Every decision, every reaction, every dream, every fear, it all starts as a thought. That's why the mind is often called the control center of your life. Whatever you allow to live there will eventually appear in your words, your choices, your habits, and ultimately your future. If your mind is full of doubt, your actions will be hesitant. If your mind is full of fear, your steps will be small. If your mind is full of faith, your life will begin to move with courage. So the question is not just, what am I doing with my life, but also, what am I feeding my mind? Most people don't realize how much garbage enters their minds every single day. They feed on constant negativity, online arguments, comparison, gossip, drama, and fear-based content. They listen to voices that say, you're not enough, you're behind, you're failing, the world is hopeless. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, unmotivated, or stuck. The truth is simple: if you feed your mind poison, your soul will feel sick. If your mental diet is mostly fear, your life will feel heavy and directionless, no matter how much you want to feel better. Your outer world can never rise higher than your inner world for long. This is why the habit of guarding your mind is so powerful. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but it quietly changes everything. Guarding your mind means becoming intentional about what you allow in. You start by paying attention to what you watch. Is it building you or breaking you? Does it make you think deeper or just distract you? Then you look at who you listen to. Are these voices encouraging growth, wisdom, strength, or are they feeding drama, rage, and emptiness? You consider what you read, what you scroll through, what you repeatedly expose your heart to. You realize your attention is not cheap, and you can no longer afford to give it away carelessly. That might mean unfollowing accounts that constantly make you feel less, smaller, or angry. It might mean stepping away from content that keeps you stuck in comparison, always looking at someone else's body, success, relationship, or life and feeling like yours doesn't measure up. It might mean walking away from conversations that revolve around tearing others down, mocking, or gossiping. These things seem small, but they create a mental environment where negativity thrives and hope suffocates. You can't live a peaceful life with a mind that's constantly filled with warfare. Guarding your mind is not just about blocking what's harmful, it's also about choosing what's helpful. You begin to fill your mind with truth, wisdom, and encouragement. You listen to words that challenge you to grow instead of settle. Speeches, lectures, spiritual messages, books, or mentors that speak to your potential, not your fears. You start reading things that stretch your thinking instead of shrinking your hope. Instead of feeding on constant entertainment, you slowly add nourishment, content that makes you reflect, learn, and expand. You might not understand everything at first, but your mind begins to adjust to a new standard. At first, no one will notice this habit. No one can see your search history, the accounts you muted, the posts you skipped, the videos you stopped watching midway because you realized they were hurting your peace. No one applauds you for choosing a motivational message over mindless drama or for closing an app and picking up a book instead. But time is always watching. Over weeks and months, your thoughts begin to clear. The mental fog starts to lift. You feel a little less triggered, a little less hopeless, a little more grounded. As your mind gets cleaner, your confidence rises. You start to believe that change is possible, that you are capable, that your life doesn't have to be a repeat of your past. Your vision sharpens, not just for where you don't want to be, but for where you do want to go. You find it easier to say no to things beneath you because you finally remember who you are becoming. People around you will say, "You've changed," and they're right. But what they don't see is that the change didn't start with your job, your clothes, or your circle. It started inside. The moment you decided to guard your mind and be careful with what you were feeding your inner world. We live in a world that gets excited by extremes. We celebrate dramatic transformations, big announcements, intense efforts. Someone works out hard for a week, posts progress, and everyone claps. Someone disappears for a while, comes back with a big project, and everyone is impressed. But the truth is, it's not those short bursts of intensity that quietly shape your life. It's the ordinary, steady habit of showing up, especially when there's nothing exciting about it. Real transformation happens slowly, almost invisibly through small consistency, not occasional explosion of effort. Think about it, it's not the 1 week you worked out every day that changes your health. That week may feel amazing, but if it's followed by a month of doing nothing, your body won't transform much. What makes a difference is the quiet habit of moving your body regularly. Even if it's just a walk, some stretches, a short workout, it's not impressive to the outside world, but your muscles, your heart, and your energy levels begin to feel the difference. Your body responds not to what you do once in a burst of motivation, but to what you repeatedly do when no one is looking. The same applies to your mind and your goals. It's not the one night you write 5 pages in a rush of inspiration that makes you a writer. It's the habit of writing a little every day, even when you don't feel particularly creative. Some days the words will flow, other days they will feel clumsy and forced. But every day you show up, you're proving to yourself, I am someone who does the work. You're strengthening your identity, not just your output. Over time, those small paragraphs and scattered ideas become chapters. Those chapters become a body of work. It came not from a single night of magic, but from steady effort. Even in your daily responsibilities, the same principle is true. It's not the one time you panic, clean your whole life that brings order and peace. That might give temporary relief, but if you go back to neglecting everything, the chaos returns. What really changes your environment is the habit of steadily tending to what matters. Washing dishes when they're dirty, sorting small messes before they become big, answering a few messages each day, handling tasks instead of delaying them forever. These acts are not glamorous, but they build a life that feels less overwhelming and more supportive. The habit of showing up means you don't let your feelings dictate your commitment. Of course you will be tired some days. Of course you will feel uninspired or discouraged. And often there will be no applause, no compliments, no visible reward. But you still do the thing you said you would do, maybe a little slower, maybe a little, but you do it. That's what it means to keep your promises to yourself. And that is powerful because every time you follow through, you build trust with yourself. You begin to believe when I say I will do something, I actually do it. That inner trust is the foundation of real confidence. You don't need to do everything at once. That's where many people fail. They try to change their entire life in one big push, burn out, and then surrender. You only need to do one thing, done faithfully, to start changing your direction. One skill practiced with consistency will outgrow 10 skills touched once in a while. One discipline honored daily, prayer, reading, training, learning, planning, will carry you further than a dozen intense but temporary bursts of effort. One step taken every day moves you much further than sprinting in panic and collapsing in exhaustion. Over days, weeks, and months, your quiet consistency becomes visible. People might say, you're lucky, or suddenly you've grown so much, but there was nothing sudden about it. It was built in the early mornings you showed up, the evenings you stayed committed, the moments you did the work no one saw. That is why consistency is so transformative. It doesn't just change your results, it changes who you are. You become the kind of person who shows up. And when you become that person, success is no longer a distant miracle. It becomes the natural outcome of the life you're living every single day. There will always be people who treat drama like oxygen. They are only fully alive when something is wrong, someone is fighting, or there's a new problem to dissect. They feed off conflict, gossip, and noise. They stir up tension in group chats, argue over every small thing, twist words, and pull others into cycles of stress and confusion. These people are not necessarily evil. Many of them are simply addicted to chaos because it distracts them from dealing with their own emptiness or pain. But whether they mean to or not, being close to them constantly pulls you into emotional storms that are not yours to carry. The moment your life begins to change is the moment you realize you have a choice. You do not have to step into every storm you're invited to. You do not have to sit at every table where people are tearing others down. You do not have to respond to every message that's clearly meant to provoke you. Developing the habit of choosing peace over drama is not about becoming distant, cold, or uncaring. It's about finally recognizing that your inner calm is more precious than someone else's temporary entertainment. You don't have to reply to every attack. The urge to clap back, to defend yourself, to correct someone's twisted version of events is strong, especially if you value truth. But after a while, you begin to see a pattern. The people who constantly attack you are not genuinely seeking understanding. They are looking for control, reaction, or fuel. Every time you argue with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, you are draining your own energy for nothing. Silence or distance in those moments is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to explain every boundary. When you start saying no, when you take space, when you stop entertaining certain behaviors, some people will demand explanations. Why are you acting like this? What's your problem? You've changed. They will make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. But when you truly choose peace over drama, you stop over-explaining. You understand that a boundary is not a debate, it's a decision. People who respect you might ask to understand, but they won't pressure you to sacrifice your peace just to keep them comfortable. You also don't have to prove your heart to people who are clearly committed to misreading it. If someone has already made up their mind that you're the bad one, the selfish one, the difficult one, you could spend hours explaining and still end up in the same place. Choosing peace over drama means you stop trying to be seen correctly by the wrong audience. Instead, you begin to say to yourself, my peace is more valuable than this argument. My energy is not fuel for anyone's chaos. That shift in mindset changes everything. Slowly, you start to walk away from what drains you. You might mute conversations that constantly spiral into negativity. You might leave group dynamics that always end in tension. You might limit your time with people who never have anything kind to say about anyone. Walking away doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's simply responding less. Sometimes it's choosing not to engage certain topics. Sometimes it's quietly excusing yourself physically or emotionally. At first, it feels uncomfortable, especially if you're used to being the one who fixes everything, mediates every tension, or absorbs every emotion in the room. But with practice, you begin to feel lighter. You also intentionally stay close to what calms you. This might be certain people who radiate kindness and steadiness, who don't thrive on drama but on honesty and respect. It might be environments, peaceful places, meaningful routines, personal rituals that ground you. It might be practices like prayer, journaling, or walking outside to clear your mind. You realize that your nervous system is not built to live in constant fight or flight mode. Peace is not boring, it's healing. It's where your best self can finally breathe and grow. This habit will cost you some people. There will be those who call you distant, boring, or selfish because you are no longer available to be part of every conflict. There will be relationships that fade because they were built on shared drama, not real connection. Let them go. What you gain in return is far more valuable. You get yourself back, your clarity, your emotional balance, your ability to hear your own thoughts, your connection to your purpose. Choosing peace over drama is not just about avoiding noise. It's about reclaiming your soul from everything that was slowly wearing it down. There are seasons in life when your own pain feels so heavy that it seems like you have nothing left to give. You feel broken, exhausted, confused, or disappointed. And the natural instinct is to turn inward completely, to shut down, to withdraw, to wait until you are fixed before you can show up for anyone else. But one of the quiet, powerful habits that can transform you from the inside out is the habit of serving others even while you are still healing. Not because your pain doesn't matter, not because you should ignore your own needs, but because helping others reminds you that, even in your struggle, you are not useless and your heart still carries light. You don't have to be fully healed to be helpful. You don't have to reach some imaginary point of perfection before your kindness counts. Sometimes the most meaningful encouragement comes from people who are still walking through their own valleys. They understand pain, so their words carry a different kind of weight. When you wait until your life is completely in order before you care for others, you might wait forever. Healing is a journey, not a moment. Along that journey, your love, your empathy, your support can still be real and powerful. You are allowed to say, I am hurting, but I still choose to be kind. Quiet service doesn't mean doing something huge or public. It can be as small and simple as sending a message of encouragement to someone who's been on your mind. Hey, I just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you. I hope you're okay. It can mean checking on someone quietly, asking, how are you really doing? And then actually listening. It can mean offering a small act of kindness, making tea for someone, helping with a task, giving a sincere compliment, or being present when someone feels alone. These actions may not solve your own problems, but they shift your focus. They gently lift your eyes away from the constant reflection on your own pain and remind you, I still have something to give. I am more than what I'm going through. This habit doesn't ask you to deny your wounds. It asks you not to let them become your whole identity. Pain has a way of trying to define you. It whispers, you are your trauma. You are your failure. You are your heartbreak. If you stare at your pain all day, every day, you start to believe that's all you are. But when you serve someone else, even in a small way, you break that lie. Your wounds are part of your story, but they are not your entire story. You are also someone who can give comfort, share wisdom, offer presence, and bring hope. Service does not magically erase your wounds. Helping someone else will not suddenly make your sadness vanish or your problems disappear. But it can stop your wounds from hardening you. You have a choice. Of pain can make you bitter, or it can make you softer. When you choose to serve, you allow your pain to deepen your compassion rather than your resentment. You become more sensitive to the struggles of others, more patient with their flaws, more generous with your understanding. You see your own brokenness reflected in them, and instead of judging, you feel connection. Quiet service also humbles you in a healthy way. When you're hurting, it's easy to start believing your life is the only one that's falling apart. But as you listen to others, you realize everyone is carrying something. You're not the only one fighting battles in silence. That realization doesn't minimize your pain, but it gives it context. It reminds you that we're all human, all fragile, all in need of grace. From that place, you become humbler, not harder. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of life and more as a participant in a shared human struggle. Over time, this habit makes you deeper, not distant. Instead of using your pain as an excuse to shut down emotionally, you allow it to expand your heart. You may still have days when you need to rest, step back, and take care of yourself, and that is important. But when you choose to let your pain turn you toward others, not away from them, you become the kind of person who, even while walking through your own fire, can still offer someone else a cup of water. And that quiet strength, that gentle service, slowly transforms not only the lives you touch, but your own. There is a version of you that still lives in your memory, younger, more fragile, more confused. Maybe they were scared, feeling like they didn't belong anywhere. Maybe they were surrounded by noise, but felt deeply alone. Maybe they were carrying burdens they were too young to understand, trying to be strong, when all they really wanted was someone safe to lean on. Most of us try to move on from that version of ourselves as quickly as possible. We bury their pain under business, distraction, or denial. But one of the most powerful habits you can develop is not to forget that younger you, but to honor them by becoming the person they desperately needed. When you think back to that earlier version of yourself, ask honestly, what kind of person did they need back then? Did they need someone disciplined who could create stability in the chaos, someone who would wake up on time, keep promises, and build routines that made life feel less unpredictable? Did they need someone kind who spoke gently instead of criticizing, someone patient who didn't mock their fears or feelings? Did they need someone courageous who could stand up for them, say no when others took advantage, and walk away from situations that were slowly breaking them? Did they need someone honest who admitted when things were not okay and stopped pretending everything was fine? Or did they need someone peaceful and grounded, a steady presence who didn't shout, didn't panic, and didn't abandon them emotionally when life got hard? Once you see that clearly, you realize something important. You have the chance right now to become that person, not for the world first, but for yourself. Becoming who your past self needed does not mean living in regret or constantly reliving old wounds. It means using that memory as a compass for your character. It turns your pain into direction. If your younger self needed kindness, then you commit to speaking to yourself gently now. If they needed protection, then you set boundaries now. If they needed courage, you choose to act bravely now, not just for your present, but in honor of the one who didn't yet know how. This intention can begin to guide your choices in beautiful, practical ways. It influences how you speak. Instead of tearing yourself down with harsh words, you ask, would I talk like this to that younger version of me? If the answer is no, you change your tone. You begin to encourage yourself, to affirm your effort, to be patient when you struggle. It also shapes how you react. Instead of exploding at every inconvenience or shutting down completely, you start pausing, breathing, and responding in ways that create safety, not more chaos. You remember that the younger you needed a calm presence, not another storm. It guides how you treat others as well. Often, the compassion you needed becomes the compassion you start giving. You listen more carefully. You are slower to judge. You are quicker to offer understanding. You understand what it feels like to be dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. So you make it a habit not to make others feel that way. Without forcing it, your life starts to create a quiet circle of safety around those who cross your path. Most importantly, this habit transforms how you treat yourself. Instead of constantly pushing yourself from a place of shame, I should be better by now. What's wrong with me? You begin to lead yourself with care. You rest when you're tired, not as an excuse, but as an act of respect. You work on your skills and discipline, not because you hate who you are, but because you love who you're becoming. You stop abandoning yourself the way others may have abandoned you. You become your own protector, guide, and encourager. When you live like this, your life stops being just about survival. It stops being just about getting through the day, paying the bills, and managing problems. It starts to become about legacy, not fame, not recognition, but a quiet legacy written in your character. You are building a life that your younger self would look at and say, we made it. We became someone strong, gentle, and real. That is a transformation no spotlight is needed for. It's the kind of change that doesn't just improve your life on the outside. It heals something deep on the inside. Ladies and gentlemen, these habits won't make headlines. They won't go viral. No crowd will gather to watch you sit in silence. Guard your mind, show up again, choose peace, serve quietly, and grow steadily. But over time, they will do something far more powerful. They will quietly transform your life, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with depth, strength, and unshakable peace. You don't have to change everything today. Just start living one of these habits and let time and consistency do what force and rush never could.